Good morning, good morning, good morning. We'll get started in about a minute.
All right. There's only two of us. I got three.
Now they'll all come in. I start
Yeah.
right on time. So
Hello.
good morning.
Morning.
I got brand new string hoodie. I got new hoodie.
Hoodies are great, dude.
Okay, time has arrived. Let's get going here. Any questions on the homework? Now, I did not give you, it was a worksheet. I didn't give you answers. Today, I will give you all the answers to tonight's homework. So when I do that, obviously, I don't want you to just copy down the answers. I want you to do the work and compare your answers to the correct answers and then come back tomorrow with
Oh, I already turned it in.
tonight's.
No, the worksheet that we had to do yesterday.
Correct. So I'm talking about the one that we're about to do. So last night I didn't give you answers. Tonight I'm going to give you all of the answers for all of the homework. So yes, with the intention that you will check your work, make sure you're doing it correctly so that on our third and final day of adding integers that I can help the people that absolutely positively are struggling with this. If you're not one of those, you'll know tonight because you'll have all the answers. If you're not one of those, then you just get one more extra day of practice. But the intention here is to make sure I don't have anyone slipping through the cracks, so to speak. All right, so we're on Wednesday. We only have 2 days left. We will do 2 more days of adding. That's today and tomorrow. So today should put the final polish on it for most of you. And then hopefully for the rest of you, that one extra day will get to 100% of the people got this. And then we'll move on to subtraction and then we go on spring break. So obviously that's not very conducive. So we'll do a quick review. We get back. The review day will be both on adding and subtracting, or mostly on adding, and then we'll jump right back into subtracting again. And then the last 2 days right here, those are your multiplication and division. And then we're done with integers. Okay, so homework tonight. Once again, it's already posted. It's a worksheet. The numbers are small so that you can do these. If you memorize the rules, you can do these in under 5 minutes, right? If you know what you're doing. Some of you might take up to 10 minutes, but this is not that challenging once you understand the rules. The challenge is to understand and apply the rules correctly. So as I said, I'm giving you all the answers to the homework tonight. So when you do it, I want you to do one problem, check the answer, do one problem, check the answer. And when you start getting some wrong, I want you to note the ones that you are getting wrong and see if there's a pattern. Like I'm always getting the ones wrong where one's positive and one's negative, or vice versa. I'm getting it wrong when both of them are negative or both of them are positive. And then that way we come back to school on Thursday and you guys can ask some specific questions and I can help you with that. All right, so I'm going to do absolutely nothing new today. It's going to be a repeat of the class. So a second time is always good. So here we go. Last class, we learned the rules of adding positive and negative numbers. Now we did adding, we did no subtracting. There were 2 rules, and the 2 rules for adding were the 2 basic types of problems you'll run into is one where you're adding same signs. That's when both numbers are positive or both numbers are negative. And here's 2 examples. Notice the 4 is positive and the 2 is positive. And I always want to point out, we look for the sign immediately to the left, not to the right, but we look to the left. And notice that, well, the 2 clearly has a plus in front of it. The 4 has nothing. And this is simply because we choose as mathematicians to leave off the plus if it's the first number. So I said they have rules for same signs, either both are positive or both are negative. And the same thing here. Remember, the sign is always to the left. The sign is always to the left. Okay. So both of those are negative. So rules for same signs, rules for different signs. Different sign is when one number is positive and one is negative, or vice versa, when one number is negative and one is positive. So 4 is positive, 2 is negative. I am adding them together. Notice that we have this plus symbol right here. So this is the rule for adding different signs, or when the first one is negative and the second one is positive. All right, so 2 different rules. These aren't the rules. These are just showing you what they will look like. So now let's talk about what the rules are. So you wrote this down yesterday. You don't need to write it down again. But the rules for, we'll do same signs first. So the rules for same sign, that's when both are positive or both are negative. Both numbers are positive. Both numbers are negative. So that's the same rule for both of these. When the signs are the same, you add the numbers, but it doesn't say that. It says add the absolute value of both numbers. So some of you yesterday already figured out, I just basically look at the 2 numbers, ignore the signs, and I add them. What you're really doing is you're adding their absolute value, right? Once you add their absolute value, you use the original sign of the numbers. If you're adding positive numbers, the answer is positive. If you're adding negative numbers, then the answer is negative. In practice, like I said, this step that I'm showing you right here, where you take the absolute value of both numbers, is not written down. It's just something that you do. The absolute value of 7 is 7. The absolute value of 4 is 4. 7 plus 4 is 11. And originally, remember the last step for same signs is you go back to the original problem and ask yourself, was I adding positive or negative numbers? In this case, I'm adding positive numbers, so the answer is positive 11. Notice we didn't put a plus 11. It is implied that the 11 is positive if you leave off the plus. It's the same rule when both signs are negative, right? Those are the same signs. So we take the absolute value of both numbers. Once again, this is the step that you kind of do in your head. I'm writing it down for the first couple ones, but when practice, you absolutely do this in your head. Absolute value of negative 7 is 7. The absolute value of 4 is 4. 7 plus 4 is 11, right? But I need to go back to the original sign. The original signs were both negative. So for same signs, when you're adding negative numbers, the answer is negative. That's only for same signs. Different rules when we have different signs, okay? So there's your rule for adding same signs. All right, so do a couple of quick examples. Notice both signs here are the same. We have 2 negative numbers right here. So I'm adding, well, how do I know I'm adding? Because there's a plus there. I'm adding 2 negative numbers. I take the absolute value of both. This is the step that you do in your head. Absolute value of negative 12 is 12. The absolute value of negative 31 is positive 31. 12 and 31, 43. We go back to the original numbers and see if we were adding positive or negative numbers. This is the rule for same signs. I'm adding negative numbers, so the answer is negative. If we're adding positive numbers, then the answer would have been positive. Okay? So negative 7 plus negative 12. Once again, step number 1, we figure out, are we adding same or different signs? I'm adding same signs. Take the absolute value of both numbers. Absolute value of those 2 numbers are 7 and 12. 7 plus 12 is 19. I go back to the original numbers and see if I was adding positive or negative numbers. If I'm adding positive numbers, the answer is positive 19. If I am adding negative numbers, then the answer is, in this case, negative 19. Questions on those 2 examples?
No.
Jaden?
No.
Jaden? Okay, cool. All right. Last one, let's see. I am adding. How do I know I'm adding? Well, there's a plus right there. I keep saying, how do you know you're adding? Because on Friday, when we do subtracting, this symbol right here will be a minus. Look, we got 3 negatives, right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we'll learn this on Friday. Not today, though. But you still have to always ask yourself, am I literally adding or subtracting? Well, I'm literally adding here because there's a plus right here. Am I adding same or different signs? We look at the signs. They are the same. So I follow the same signs rule. I take the absolute value of both numbers. That's 5 and 4. Notice I wrote this step. In practice, we don't actually write the step down. We just do it. In fact, all of what I'm showing right here, eventually you will do in your head. You won't write anything here except for the answer. 5 plus 4 is 9. We ask ourselves, am I adding positive or negative numbers? I am adding negative numbers, so the answer is -9. All right. Not to speed this up, remember I showed you this silly one right here. We already know the answer here is 3, but if we follow the rules, we take the absolute value of 2, we take the absolute value of 1. Remember, the rule has to work for this one as well. That would be 2 and 1. We add them together, that gives us 3. And was I adding positive or negative numbers? Remember, we look to the left, both numbers here are positive, so the answer is in fact positive 3. Would I actually do all this work? Absolutely no. 2 plus 1 is 3 and you're done. By the way, once again, once you have these rules memorized, right, you're going to be able to do all of this. -2 plus -1, you're just going to write equals -3. You're doing all of these steps. Take the absolute value, add, use the original sign. You're doing all of these in your head. Okay. All right. 4 quick problems. Do those, please. Give you a 30-second head start, and then I will work through them. All right, let's see, upper left. We are in fact adding here. I'm adding same signs, both are negative. Take the absolute value of both, that would be 7 and 18. I add those together, I get 25. Was I adding positive or negative numbers? I was adding negative, so the answer is -25. Bottom one. I'm adding same signs because 24 is positive and 16 is positive. Absolute value of both is 24 and 16. Add those two together, that's 40. Both signs are positive, so the answer is +40. Next one I'm adding same signs, both signs are negative. Absolute value of both are 2 and 6. Add, we get 8. I was adding negative, so the answer, oh, that's horrible. So the answer is -8. Last one, I'm adding 2 negatives. Take the absolute value of both, 10 and 5. Add them together. Was I adding positive or negatives? I was adding negatives. So the answer is -15. What do you think, Gavin? Yes or no?
Yeah, that looks good.
Caden, what do you think? You got this? Caden. Caden doesn't want to talk. Jaden, you got this? Yes or no?
Yes, I do.
Vea?
I already got this on the first day.
Nick?
Yes.
Pierce?
Yeah.
Jasmine?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Hey, don't be afraid. Like I said, I have 8th graders, not right now, but at the start of the year, I will have 8th graders that still struggle at this. So don't be afraid to say, yeah, this is giving me some problems, right? I need help on this. And usually this is what typically happens is I do the first rule for same signs and not a single person will have a problem. As soon as we get to adding the opposite signs and I throw the problems together, then all of a sudden 1 or 2 will pop up. We do subtraction and then I will get a good number, like, you know, maybe 4 or 5 people that all of a sudden the rules start getting jumbled around in their heads. Okay. But don't ever be afraid to ask questions. All right.
Oh, sorry. I was wondering where.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I had my thing off and my spacebar for temporary unmute wasn't working.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. All right, so that was the rule for same signs. Here's the rule for different signs. Remember the rule for different signs, that means one number is positive and one is negative. So 7 is positive, 4 is negative, or vice versa, right? 7 is negative, 4 is positive. Notice we will get two completely different answers here. The numbers look like 7 and 4, but one's positive, one's negative, and they're different on each example here, okay? So the rules for different signs is, well, if for the same signs we add, we still take the absolute value of both numbers. Well, for different signs, we actually subtract. And the order of subtraction is after you take the absolute value, both numbers are positive. So you take the biggest number, you subtract the smallest number. The last step, this one has 3 steps, is you go back to the original problem and you simply ask yourself, remember the coin method from yesterday? Do we have more positive numbers or do we have more? I don't mean like, hey, look, I got one positive number, one negative number. Right? I'm talking about their values. If these were in coins, look at the one on the left here, I would have 7 positive coins and 4 negative coins. So you'd have far more positives than you would have negative. And whatever you have the most of, that's what you will use. All right, so I'll do this real quick. The one on the left here, step number 1 is the same as the previous one. We take the absolute value of both numbers. That would be 7 and 4. We subtract the biggest or the smallest from the biggest, so that's big minus small, so 7 minus 4 is 3. We go back to the original problem and we ask ourselves, did we have more positives or did we have more negatives? If these were coins, I'd have 7 positive and 4 negative coins. There'd be more positive coins, so the answer is positive 3. On the other one, same basic problem, except I flip-flop the negatives. Well, I still take the absolute value, I get 7, 4. I still subtract 7 minus 4 and I get 3. But this time when I ask myself, did I have more positives or did I have more negatives? If we're talking about coins, I'd have 7 negative, but only 4 positive. So I'd have more negative coins. And if you remember the demonstration yesterday with the coin method, when after 1 minus 1 is 0, you do that, you're left with nothing but positive coins. Okay. So that's the quick down and dirty explanation of how to do different signs. Well, let's just do some practice. So I'm going to do this exactly the same way I did it with same signs. Step number 1, I simply ask myself, am I adding or subtracting? Well, I'm adding. So I'm going to follow the rules for adding. There are 2 of them. There's one for same signs and there's one for different signs. So the very next thing you need to do is ask yourself, do we have same or different signs? Well, 18 is clearly negative, but 7, there's no sign here. 7 is positive. So these are different signs. Next step, we take the absolute value of both numbers. This is the part you do in your head. Well, that would be 7 and 18. The next step is I'm going to not add these 2 numbers now. I'm going to subtract these 2 numbers. And the way I'm going to subtract them is I'm going to take the big number. Let's see which one's bigger, 7 or 18. Well, 18 is bigger. So I'm going to do 18 minus 7. Well, that's 11. And then for the final answer, I go back to the original numbers here in blue. And I ask myself, did I have more negatives or did I have more positives? I've got 18 negatives and 7 positives, so more negatives. That's why the answer is negative. Let's see that again. Step number 1, am I adding or subtracting? Well, I got a big plus there, so I'm adding. Step number 2, which rule? Same or different signs? Well, this sign, this sign here is negative. This sign here is positive, right? So different signs. I take the absolute value of both numbers. That would be 11 and 6. I subtract big minus small. 11 minus 6 is 5. And I go back to the original numbers. So I go back to the original numbers. Did I have more negatives or did I have more positives? I got 11 negatives and 6 positives. There's more negatives. So the answer is -5. Questions on what I just did?
No.
Okay. Here we go. Let's do this one together. 20 plus -6. 20 plus -6. Step number 1. Are we adding or subtracting? Hey, look, we're adding because there's a big, because there's a big plus symbol right there. Like I said, on Friday, this plus will no longer be a plus. It will be a minus. So on Friday, we'll do a combination of adding and subtracting. You will have to say, am I adding or subtracting here? And on Friday, one of the answers could be I'm subtracting. Not today, though. So today we are adding. But there are two adding rules, one for same signs and one for different. So you need to look at the signs. 6 is negative. Well, there's nothing here. That means it's positive. So I'm adding a positive and a negative. So those are different signs. Take the absolute value of both. That would be 20 and 6. Big minus small. 20 minus 6 is 14. I asked myself, did I have more positives or more negatives? There are 20 positives, there are 6 negatives, there's way more positives than there are negatives. So therefore the answer is positive. And there you go. Are we okay with that last step? If there's usually one step that people have problems with, it's this question of, do I have more positives or negatives? For some people, it's very intuitive. It makes sense immediately. For other people, I find out many weeks down the road that they didn't understand what that even means, where they're more positives or where they're more negatives. Does anybody have any issues with that? Okay, no one's saying yes, so that guess that means no. Yes, I understand, Pierce. All right, here are 4 problems. Here are 4 problems. Do those 4, please. I'll give you a 30-second head start. 30-second head start. By the way, once you get good at this, you won't need 30 seconds to do all 4 of these. Okay, upper left. We are adding. We are in fact adding not same, but we are adding different signs, a negative and a positive. So I take the absolute value of both. The absolute value of both is 12 and 18. 18 minus 12, that's big minus small. That would be 6. And we have more positives than negatives, so the answer is positive 6. Once again, I have 12 negatives, 18 positives, there's more positives. Bottom left. Once again, I am adding. I am adding, in fact, different signs. One positive, and there's no sign here. If there was one, it would be plus. A positive and a negative. So I take the absolute value of both. That would be 8 and 6. Big minus small. 8 minus 6 is 2. I go back to the original problem. I have 8 positives and 6 negatives. More positives and negatives. So the answer is positive 2. Upper right. I'm adding. And I'm adding not same signs, I'm adding different signs. There's a positive and a negative. Absolute value of both, that'd be 7 and 12. Big minus small. 12 minus 7 would be 5. Let's see, I got 7 positives, 12 negatives, so I have more negatives, so negative 5. Last one, once again, we are in fact adding. We're adding different signs, a negative, and well, there's no sign here, but if there was one, it would be positive. So that's different signs. So I take the absolute value of both, 15 and 13, subtract. 15 minus 13 is 2. More negatives, more positives. There are 15 negatives and 13 positives, more negatives, so negative 2. Okay, how do you feel, guys? We're okay with this?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Excellent, excellent. All right. Last thing we'll do is we'll do a combination of both. This is a real test on can you do tonight's homework. So here's a mixture of same and different signs. There are 6 of them. I'll give you a 30-second head start. Remember, step number 1 after all of these are addition, obviously. But once you figure out you're adding, then you got to figure out, do you have same or different signs? And then follow the rules. For same signs, you add the 2 numbers after you take the absolute value. And for different signs, you subtract the 2 numbers after you take the absolute value. The last step for both of these processes are different. For same signs, you use the original sign. If they were both negative to start, the answer is negative. If they were both positive to start, the answer is positive. And the last step for different signs is you use the sign that you had the most of, more negatives or more positives. All right, go for it. I'll give you a full minute since there's 6 of them. All right, let's work our way through this. First one, it looks like we have same sign. So I take the absolute value of both. That would be 2 and 6. We add 2 plus 6 is 8. They're both negative, so the answer is -8. Middle one, hey, look, I got different signs, a negative, and there's no sign here, so positive. Opposite signs are different signs. Absolute value of both is 2 and 5. This time we got to subtract big minus small, so that would be 2 minus 5 is 3. And we have more positives than negatives, so the answer is +3. Bottom one, different signs. We've got a negative and, well, no sign. That makes it positive. Absolute value of both is 9 and 5. Since it's different signs, we subtract. 9 minus 5 is 4. We go back to the original problem. More negatives or positives? More negatives, so the answer is -4. Upper right. There's no sign here that makes it positive, so I have different signs. Absolute value of both, 4 and 6. Big minus small, because different signs. 6 minus 4 is 2. Let's see, I'll write right here. More positives or more negatives? I got 4 positives, 6 negatives, so more negatives, so -2. Next one, hey, same signs. I like same signs, they're easy. Simply add the 2 absolute value numbers together. That would be what, 14? And they were both negative, so the answer is -14. That's a horrible equal sign. Okay, last one. Look, same signs again. Love these ones. Add the 2 absolute value numbers together. 4 plus 4 is 8. Are we adding positive or negative numbers? We are adding negative numbers. Let's see if I can do an equal sign this time. Yes, success. And there you go. There's all 6 problems worked out. Questions? Anything you're struggling with?
No.
I tried to do that exactly the way I would like you guys to do it. Like I tried to verbally talk the way what should be going on in your head, that conversation. When you look at it, as soon as you see that plus symbol, then you know, hey, I'm adding, so I'm going to follow the addition rules. Then you ask yourself, same or different signs, and then whichever one that is, you follow those rules. If you verbally, if that's the conversation you have with yourself in your head when you're doing these problems, good to go. Some of you might need, and look at the top of the paper right here, some of you might need to have the, I'm going to erase everything here. Some of you might need to have all of these steps written down. If that's the case, that's perfectly fine. I have plenty of 8th graders that have this right here that I'm circling on a sheet of paper in front of their face at all times, the entire year of 8th grade. Those are the kids that I say, hey, you're struggling on adding and subtracting your positives and your negatives, right? Make sure that you have that sheet plus the rules for subtraction. As I said before, most kids don't have an issue with multiplication and division, but for adding, subtracting, oh yeah. I mean, I'm not talking about, half the class or something like that, but I'll have 2 to 3 kids in 8th grade still for the entire year have this in front of them. No one gets to high school and not have these rules memorized, but definitely in 8th grade, I will encounter a couple kids that need some help, and that's fine. If you're one of those kids, just make sure that you have those steps in front of your face and you'll do fine. All right, any questions on anything we did today? Got one chat. What is it? How much longer? Well, we're done. Any questions? Clear all drawings. So remember the same note I made yesterday, the worksheet that I gave you today will use next year's notation. Here is this year's notation, right? Here is next year's. Next year, all they do is that they move the negative from the top to the middle. And that's how all books use it past 7th grade. So I just choose when I give you the worksheets just to try to get you ready. But during class and in the book itself, it will have the negative at the very top right here. So don't get hung up. Both of these both say 4 plus -6. All right, remember I gave you the answers for every problem. So I want you to do the problems. I want you to check all your answers. If you notice that there's a pattern, I'm missing these, then tell me about it tomorrow's class. And what I will do tomorrow is I will have a worksheet ready to go. And then for the people that know what they're doing, this is for tomorrow's class, for the people who know what they're doing and they're 100% sure, I'm just going to simply say, do your homework during class. I'll have the video going live the entire time. And what I will have is I will have the ability to help anyone that needs help. In fact, we can do the entire worksheet tomorrow in class for the people that need help. If you don't need help, then you are free after we start the class. And I ask that question, I'll simply say, all right, guys, those that are comfortable, go ahead and do your work. I'll be online for the entire class to help you out. And for those that want to do this together, then I will individually help each and every one of you tomorrow during class. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of people, like I said, that get this on the first day will wonder why we do this for 3 days. You know, a lot of times when we get to challenging skills, right? People learn at different paces, right? It's no big deal that you're doing it for 3 days, even if you think you've mastered it on the first day. Like I said, every single math problem from now on, 8th grade all the way through whatever is the last grade you do in a math class, you will deal with both positive and negative numbers. And you have to be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide them. So the more work that we do in 7th grade to lock this in, the easier 8th grade and 9th grade and 10th grade math will be, because you won't have to worry about, hey, I still haven't mastered those rules for adding, subtracting integers. All right, that's all I got for you today. So what, we finish about 10 minutes early here. If you need any help, send me a chat. But if not, I will let you guys go for today. Jaden, you can stop dancing now.
Bye.
All right. You guys have a wonderful day.
Oh boy.